So Elon Musk, did I actually lose that one? Where is it at? Here we go. Elon Musk responding to Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro said, Twitter should be, Ben Shapiro quoting Elon Musk, Twitter should be politically neutral. Washington Post and every left-wing blue check, you guys are giving away your game. Elon Musk said attacks are coming thick and fast, primarily from the left, which is no surprise. However, I should be clear that the right will probably be a little unhappy too. My goal is to maximize area under the curve of total human happiness, which means the 80% of people in the middle. I would like to give a shout out to our good friend Shoe on Head, who in response to a tweet from Elon Musk, he said, for Twitter to deserve public trust, it must be politically neutral, which effectively means upsetting the far right and the far left equally. Shoe on Head said, Elon Musk waging war on both my friend groups. I love it. She did respond to his other tweet saying, but those are the least funny people on this website. You need to be catering to the fringe schizos.
I disagree with Elon on that. Or put it this way. I think what he's saying is unachievable because you don't see people on the far right saying that they want people on the far left banned. But that's the inverse when it comes to the far left. They do want the other side banned. That's the whole issue. So to the greatest extent of this, you are not going to be able to get an equal level of, quote unquote, anger on both sides. It's just not going to happen, unless you're adding some like arbitrary rules on top of this thing, because essentially the right just wants to be left alone, number one, or number two, wants to be able to have an even playing field. The left doesn't want an even playing field.
Elon doesn't understand that Twitter's policies that he doesn't like were specifically to make the left and the right both unhappy. The left was demanding censorship. They're saying Twitter is overtly supporting white supremacists by letting them say words. Can you believe that people misgendered me? They should be banned. And Twitter said, okay, we'll ban some of them. The right was like, well, they banned them and I'm angry, but I'll stay on the platform because I can tolerate views I don't like. So Twitter said, how do we make both sides happy? Ban a bunch of conservatives because conservatives can tolerate it and the left can't. If Elon Musk actually restores free speech, as he's saying, they're primarily coming from the left, that will always be the case. There will be no circumstance where someone will do something overtly egregious on the right, and the right's going to be like, that's unfair. They should be allowed to do those things.
Okay, I'm not going to get into it, but when Alex Jones, right, was out there and across every platform, he was one of the biggest shows. He just was. And if you ran tracking on this, he was getting more views a day than I think anybody outside the mainstream media. I saw lots of people on the right. I saw conservatives up and down, attacking him for things, mocking him, ridiculing him, saying they disagreed with various takes that he had on various issues that YouTube probably doesn't want me to get into. That's not my point. I don't remember anybody on the right ever saying that Alex Jones should be taken off the air. I don't remember ever hearing that said once.
What if conservatives came out and said you should not be allowed to have your own pronouns, and Twitter should enact a policy that if you change your pronouns, you'll be banned?
Then they'd become pretty extreme.
Can
and
your
no longer
pronouns be
conservative.
grandfathered?
Whoa, hold on there a minute. Right now, Twitter will ban you if you misgender someone.
Right.
So I'm saying, what if conservatives said, okay, we'll do the inverse. If you use pronouns that are not in line with your biology, we'll ban you.
It feels
that
like
is equally as extreme.
I know. It feels like we're debating who should hold the Infinity Gauntlet. Who gets to hold the Infinity Gauntlet?
And
when
that's what
everyone
Sharyl was
knows
saying.
the answer is no
that's-
one.
that's
You're
not my
supposed to
point.
break it apart.
My point is Elon Musk is not proposing that, and conservatives are happy. He's saying you can have whatever pronouns you want, but you can't make someone else say them. And the right's like, we can live with that even though we don't like it. And the left's like, no, we can't. Ban them. There's no way to
That's
make
why
the
you
left and the right
block.
happy.
You can block whoever you want.
Right, but that makes
you
the
can
right
mute
happy,
people,
but
too.
not the left.
This is
Elon
the
Musk will
difference.
not be able
Life
to
is
achieve
not
that
about
goal.
being happy. That's
And
for sure.
I've had to explain this so many times to people. This is the difference between cancel culture and boycotts, right? Completely different things. So a boycott is when one concerted group says we are no longer going to support a certain industry, organization, company, or figure, right? Conservatives, I believe right now are generally, I don't know if anyone's actually said this, but they're essentially boycotting Disney, right? Over the groomer situation, that whole scandal. And so that's going on as a boycott. But then I'll always see this and people will say, hold on. I thought you said you were against cancel culture. No, that's different. We're not saying that they should go out of business. We're not saying that no one can do business with them. That's what cancel culture is destroying someone's ability to even have a livelihood whatsoever.
It's an inverted boycott.
Yes.
Whereas boycott, just to reiterate, is people saying, we all have decided we're not going to buy from you. The cancel culture is, don't let them sell to anyone.
Exactly.
But here's why. The cancel culture is afraid that without that, the popular sentiment would not be on their side. And when we talk about conservative versus liberal on the internet, for example, and social media, I think part of that is because there's a control issue where certain factions, which are actually quite small minority in my view of people, have been able to use social media in a controlled way to portray as if a greater section of the public feels that way. And I think they're afraid if people were to actually see what percentage of the public feels a certain way on certain topics, they would find that many liberals side along with conservatives on some issues. And sometimes these are very fringe discussions and issues getting a lot of attention because the social media is controlled. When left to their own devices, this stuff would fall along the fringe and would not look like it does today with this controlled conversation, elevating certain issues and views to a level that's far beyond, I think, what they really are.
Yeah, the Baizuo. I think if you've brought this up. Baizuo is what is it? Mandarin? Or is that what
it's language? Mandarin for white left.
It means white left. They have a word to define the white left, the white
liberals.
That's, to me, indicative that there's a focus on the white left, the white liberal, and then you start to see the manipulation in the social media. And I wonder how involved the creators of the Baizuo are in propagating this.
Look, Ian, here's what happened.
Psychosis.
Here's what happened. In 2014 and 2015, which Sharyl was saying, when everything was just open, right? Twitter had a much smaller user base than it does today. And Twitter gained a massive user base, huge influx in 2016 because of Trump and because of his ubiquitous and singular use of Twitter. The way he used that platform like no other person at his level ever had before, right? It was always staff tweets, Katy Perry or Barack Obama, Hillary. These were always staff tweets, Joe Biden, right? I don't even think he knows what Twitter is to an extent, right? He's like, that's some website the kids use, right? And so prior to this, there were really no rules. The idea of someone even being banned on Twitter was almost unthinkable. It was unheard of that people would get suspended. It's certainly not for speech, anything like this. But there was a place on the internet where crazy people dwelt, and the crazy met with more crazy, and they combined to create exponential crazy. And this is a place known as the Upside Down of Tumblr. And Tumblr, essentially, in that time space, through things like Gamergate, the SJW wars, and then eventually Trump, came onto Twitter and essentially occupied Twitter, and specifically occupied the headquarters of Twitter. And by maintaining that, to use a cliche, high ground, by maintaining the high ground, they were able to impose their will across Twitter. And so something I've been saying a lot lately is what's going on here is the liberation of Twitter from the Tumblr occupation.
The Tumblr occupation.
The Tumblr occupation.
Yes.
Let's not forget that after Trump won in that unexpected race, which was unexpected to almost everybody except I was a national journalist who predicted repeatedly on national TV that he would win just because I was listening outside the Beltway to regular people. But once he won, the left admitted, including Media Matters, the propaganda group, that they went and held meetings with Facebook and convinced Facebook to take this new tact, which was brand new, to do the fake fact checks, the moderations. They didn't call them fake fact checks, of course, but the notion that they would have to come on and prevent something like this from happening again. That whole notion was raised in a very organized fashion shortly after the 2016 election going into 2017.
Washington Post.
I'm just browsing Twitter, so
there's also a Time News article where they talk about fortifying the election. I think it's for 2020. They were planning it for a year and a half. I think 2019.
Well, it was Time Mag from Time Mag, right? And that was
who was talking about it.
So this is the great Time article that Ian's referring to.
Oh yeah.
Which was essentially that's That's when the serial killer has, conducted their killings. That's the Zodiac sending the cipher to, what was the San Francisco Chronicle? Sending the letter off to let them know that
they needed credit for it. It was so
good.
And
they needed credit. Yeah. So they needed to know. They needed the world to know. And humans have this innate desire for credit, for their esteem to be stoked. So for that ego power, for that, because so many people live off of ego alone because they're not in touch with, as I would say, they're not in touch with God. They're not in touch with the spiritual side of things. And so they live for this world. They're very worldly, and they don't understand that, this world is ephemeral. This world we'll leave it behind. But anyway, the point being is that article is a confession. It's just a confession. We got you.
Well, in terms of controlling political outcomes and information, that's just the game for them. It was brilliant. And like you said, they wanted credit for it.
Well, they got it. Thanks, Time Magazine, for blowing that one off the off the bow. The secret history of the shadow campaign that saved the 2020 election.
So
that's what it's called, the shadow campaign.
Right. Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.